Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am in a location I am sure does not need any introduction. Beautiful. Conditions, overcast. Very, very flat light. Very flat. But anything could happen. Well, no, the chances of having a bright red sky are probably quite limited. But when I say anything could happen, I could make anything happen, as in the final steps. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to play around with capturing the ingredients, overexposing parts, underexposing parts, doing long exposures and parts to hopefully take that back onto the computer and then create something that isn't flat, overcast and boring. I have got rivers, I've got interesting little foreground subjects, I've got features that are just focal points that are just absolutely incredible. There's a little bit of snow on top. The clouds are moving at a decent pace. They are moving the wrong way for a long exposure, really, but we can play around with this. We have really quite nice conditions. And the first location I want to start with today is just down here. So just underneath you right now is a little old bridge, and it's constructed of 2 iron girders with railway sleepers going across it. You might be able to see the railway sleeper just below you there. Underneath there, I've got this nice little interesting river, which hopefully is going to create a nice little foreground subject with that bridge and the buckle in the background. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a little walk along the side of the river, and what I'm looking for are little interesting parts, things that I can put as my immediate foreground that's going to instantly act like an anchor and capture that eye and bring you into the scene. And the most important thing is that whatever I choose is not too far away from the bridge and looks good with the buckle in the back. Okay, so I know I'm a little bit off to the side, but it was hard to get to you out there. But what I've got down here is I've got these little flickers of white water, these little flickers of waves being created by the ripples. And I think they might make a nice, interesting foreground. But the same shutter speed that I'll probably photograph everything else on, they're going to look really flat and uninteresting. So that's going to have to be a nice, fast shutter speed. And then I've got this little bit of water coming through. And I'll probably shoot that on a longer shutter speed to make that look a little bit more interesting. And then I've got loads of different darks and brights to bring out. And one thing that is going to be really important in this image is colour grading, because all of them colours super flat, a bit boring. So when I come to do that final edit, I've got all of that information. Okay, let's get close to that bridge, I think. The colours decided to come after all. Perfect. Okay, so I've just set up my camera and it looks like the buckle is about to disappear, so I need to get this shot quick. The first image I'm going to capture the sky, because there's a massive cloud about to come across and it's going to wipe everything out. So I'm going to underexpose for the sky, get a nice dramatic nothing blown out, and that looks great. The composition itself, if you look at this image here, I've got the cloud coming across I'm gonna raise that exposure loads, making sure it's exactly the same as the last one, nothing blown out, nothing too underexposed. And what I'm wanting to capture is hopefully as much detail as possible. So when I come to color grade later, it is looking swish. And this is how that shot looks. Very nice, very nice. Oh, got cold hands this morning, I'll tell you. And as you'll have seen, I've got the bridge is quite a standout subject in that foreground this time. It's not lost in the distance. Now, if I'd had light on that bridge in the last composition, it wouldn't have been lost in the distance. It would have been standout and beautiful, but I don't have that light. So I've had to bring myself closer to the subject to hopefully make it stand out that little bit more in the scene. And I think it does. I think it does. But what I don't want is I don't want that water to be like smooth. So I'm gonna raise that exposure again. Okay, so I've caught the water there. That looks nice. I've got the mountain, I've captured the sky, I've captured that foreground, and I've captured that water. Hopefully, a nice image. Fingers crossed. Right now though, the mountain is disappearing behind a bank of fog. My hands are freezing, but the shoot must continue. But I think that was a nice image. And that bank of mist that's come across and smothered the mountain might actually work for me. In the interest of trying to do something different, okay, I'm definitely stuck on this bridge. I don't know why, but it seems to be fascinating me, and I'm going to make sure that I've got nothing dangling out of my pockets. It is drizzling a little bit right now, which is pretty annoying, but that is giving me real atmosphere, and I'm definitely not getting that light, but atmosphere can work. And when you've got atmosphere, texture is great. And right now, I have got texture by the bucket load. Lovely. And the way I've set this up is so I've got the bridge on either side of that water, pointing in, going with the contortion of my lens, pointing straight up in to the buckle itself. You can see the little white mountaineering cottage just off to the left, which I think is just a nice feature to help add scale. Because I'm so close to the bridge with a wide angle, it's made the bridge look massive. And without that house in the distance, it's all wrong. It looks weird. What I'm gonna do now though, is I'm not gonna change my shutter speeds or anything like that, but I'm gonna change where I'm focusing. Because at the moment, I'm focused on the mountain, and I wanna bring that focus stack back towards this bridge. I don't want the grain in the wood to be out of focus. I want that looking nice. So I'm going to focus on the bottom of the mountain now, down where that cottage is. And there is a bit of contortion in the cottage. It's got a bit of a lean to the left, which is a shame, but ultra wide angle lens. What can I say? There's always a little bit of distortion. Dry wipey wipe. Make sure it's all looking good. And then I think I might go and have a coffee and wait out this rain. See what happens. But before putting away your camera, so the camera is weather sealed, but I always suggest before putting things away, just give them a little bit of a dry. And that's why you should always carry one of these, a microfiber cloth. Just because the lens and the camera is weather sealed doesn't mean it can't, get a little bit of condensation in there or whatever. So it's just good practice to look after your gear and give it a little wipe down, get that excess water off beforehand. But don't worry, when I go and have my coffee, I won't film a coffee montage, promise. I'm gonna resist from doing the van life thing. Yeah, we live in a van, but you know, there's plenty of other channels that do that. And I will see you, hopefully, after a coffee and the conditions have got a little bit better. I still feel like we've got 3 interesting images, and actually that bank of cloud that came in over the buckle was a godsend, because it changed the first image to the last image and made it a completely different feeling. And the last image, without being able to see it on the computer, was my favourite. But you can let me know in the comments below what was your favourite. Well, that's going to be all from me this week, all from Pauline, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out, peeps. Bye.